Good evening, good morning, good whatever, and yeah.
Hello, boys and ghouls.
Welcome to October, where it's always nice to have some ghostly tales, isn't it,
Oh,
Tessa?
yes.
How's Tessa, by the way?
Doing good.
Yeah?
A little tired from work, but you know how that is.
Oh yeah, I know. It's work. And then we come and do this. Yay! Yeah! Let's do this though. So anyway, we're here to talk about a specific urban legend, because you know what? What a better way to start talking about a October tale than talking about some sort of urban legend, but not just any type of urban legend. We're talking about the Marble Street Ghost Hiker. Ghost Hitchhiker. Now, Tessa, you kind of were brought up here before you moved all over the place, but ever in your life did you ever hear about this Marble Street Ghost Hiker?
No, I didn't hear about this Marble Street Ghost Hiker until this year, actually.
Yeah. Haunted Vermont did a good job, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they did a good job concealing it.
Yeah. Well, let's get right into it. So the story of the Marble Street Ghost Hiker is as follows. If you've never heard of it, well, let me share one story that apparently is a theory that's going on. One theory to this. And that is, well, there was some sort of love triangle thing going on here, or some sort of thing, because we had, I don't know, really, it seemed like possibly some sort of affair was going on with a rich person with some type of dude, and well, I guess the lady was just in the way.
And what Paul is saying here is his one of his theories is that there was a love triangle with a rich person and the husband being the richer person, being married to a rich wife, and having the other woman who's not so rich, probably kind of on the middle class or the poor side, and some events take place that cause the wife to find out and want to get rid of her. So
they somehow meet up, and apparently the husband told the other lady not to follow him because he was going on important business or something, and then she ended up showing up anyway, I guess. And that's where really you take the big ass turn.
For the worst.
So, another interesting thing about the story, or stories, because we will be getting to that in a minute, because there is, in every type of either folklore or urban legend, there's always different stories. So in this case, there's multiple, just like in any other. And in this particular story, it is said that she was supposedly pregnant with that, quote, husband's, quote, unquote, baby. And it's just one of those weird things where it's just well, did she or did she not have the child?
Mm-hmm.
So, what are your thoughts on that, Tessa?
Well, I think that if she did indeed become pregnant by the man that was having an affair with her, I guess the wife didn't take it very well, which I wouldn't think she would, and but why she'd want to keep the husband after that infidelity is beyond me. Why they'd even want to go to the lengths to, I don't know, murder someone and get rid of her.
Yeah, it's something.
It's something, alright. But whether or not she had the baby or not, I guess that's something we really don't know. And again, it's a theory, but if she did have the baby, she'd probably be in a more pleasant demeanor, versus if she didn't get to have the baby, she'd probably be in a not so pleasant demeanor.
Yeah, so that pretty much leads into the second way, which is supposedly she had the baby, and now her ghostly spirit can be seen pushing or carrying her child, either by stroller or just carrying her.
Yeah, carrying her child in her arms.
Yep. And of course, like with any folklore, there are rules. And this is like no any other ordinary type of thing, so it's kind of simple yet interesting. But the rules are as follows. You have to go as the night falls. Do not turn on your headlights. And if you encounter her, you need to offer her a lift. And the last and not least, whatever you do not show fear. Apparently, there is a bad thing, and it can lead to death by the lady supposedly doing something, and you're never really heard from again. You're just like vanished off the road.
So basically, in short, if you do not see her carrying her child or pushing a stroller on the highway, do yourself a favor. Turn your car around. Drive away from her. Because if you see her walking alone, chances are you're going to meet a grim end.
Finally, we actually got a nice little history here, babe.
Mm-hmm.
So, I actually emailed the West Rutland Historical Society, which is like, what would you say, like like right across the street from Marble Street, or right on the road of Marble Street. It's right on the
actual street. It's like it's like right on the corner. It's like a weird, like, the way the roads connect, it's almost like the building sits in like a triangle. Or something, yeah. Something like that.
It kind of breaks off into like a Y, though. Or something
like a crossroad, in a way.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah. Anyways.
Alright. Well, so I finally get an email back from West Rutland Historical Society, because another thing that we forgot to mention too about the story, or about the urban legend itself, is that Marble Street connects to that town called Whipple Hollow, which is known to have supposedly been a town back in the day during the marble industry days. But the other tale to that is, well, one night the people of Whipple Hollow literally got up, packed all their stuff, if they even did, and just left, and the town pretty much vanished from there. Nobody knows why. They supposedly picked up all their stuff, if they even did, like I mentioned, and just left. But it became like a vanished or an abandoned town. But anyway, so I emailed the Historical Society about this to see if there was ever some sort of town, or what the idea of this road and the legend come to be. And this is the response I get. So I hope you all can't wait for this. Anyway, and by the way, as we're reading this, we'll read it, and then maybe if there's specific parts that you and I notice, maybe we can talk about it afterward.
Okay.
So, here is the response I got from West Rutland Historical Society. In most cases about the past, a great deal of information we get is through oral history and difficult to prove. This is also true of Whipple Hollow. There was never really a town per se. There were farms owned and worked by the Swedes.
The Swedes, yeah.
Yeah, Swedes. With help from new immigrants who were boarders and family members. And just south of the Florence Pittsford line, there was a rather large property owned by the Mills family. And like all of the subsistence farmers, they probably sold foodstuff or perhaps had a blacksmith in the family who also worked for others. There was a school on the first crossroad, now called Bristol Road, that went into Proctor over the mountain, and on this road is also a cemetery. Most markers are from early 1800s. The Historic Society is in the process of putting together another book on schools, and there was also a school on this Bristol Road just west of the cemetery. This was the community of Whipple Hollow. When the true blue marble business expanded in the mid-1840s because the rock was used for building foundations, many of the farmers went to work in the Ericson quarry and True Blue mill, which had the first steam-driven saw in the country. But True Blue was 2 miles south of this, quote, community, unquote. And though the railroad came out to the crossroads of Marble, True Blue and Pleasant Streets, there was never a village there either. The Marble Company did build houses, shacks, really, above the True Blue, but technically that was the end of Pleasant Street, the area beyond John Kurant's farm. The only other population along the road, called Whipple Hollow, starts where John Kruszewski, used to live, and goes into Florence, about 4 miles long. That was just a stretch of farm. There is a great deal of oral history that includes stories of ghosts, but today many of those can be explained by a fog setting over the swamp and magnifying the night lights coming from the quarry area. Also, some believe that since it contained many, quote, lovers' lane, unquote, locations, landowners would create Halloween-type diversions with carriage lights, dynamite, and other scary stuff just to keep people off their land. And finally, the last paragraph reads, there is a booklet that we published about Whipple Hollow. Some are still available at $5 a book, but there's not a great deal that can be verified as records were lost or destroyed, and town lines were redrawn and landmarks got destroyed. And that was the response I got. So,
that's interesting. Not very many oral records, to be found. Most of it was destroyed.
Well, see, this is
lost or destroyed.
Well, see, this is what creates folklore and urban legends.
Yes.
If you do not have the proof, then
how can you say that it's not real?
Yeah, exactly. How can you say that something did not exist? So, and that's what you gotta kind of love about ghost stories. It's like, was it real? Was it not real? And here just proves that right there, just by that saying, lost or destroyed. Even though it's the same way with like saying like what they said about the land line, the town line being redrawn and whatever. So who really knows what was really there? Because back in the day we didn't really know how to keep records, and to be honest, I didn't look it up, but I'm pretty sure it was very late, maybe close to being the end of the 1800s, or if not beginning, or sometime around the 1900s, where we started to be like, oh, maybe we should, collect records. So, to be honest, from this response, it just shows how much urban legends and folk tales and lore can really do. We can take particularly anything and turn it into something scary. And then what's even interesting is that sometimes documents are either destroyed, never happened, or just somehow got lost. Which in this case proved that from the response. And so I think the final take about these urban legend about how a town in Whipple Hollow, quote, vanished, unquote, couldn't have happened. Or could have happened. Mm-hmm. We just don't have the, quote, record, unquote.
Yeah, we don't have the
proof.
Physical proof.
No. So, it's very cool. And, because another thing that I will now mention, too, is that people were saying that these people that we're talking about, like this lady, this ghost lady, now that hitchhikes on Marble Street, is somehow connected to the Whipple Hollow town that vanished back in the day. So,
how those two are connected,
we're
not exactly sure. Yeah.
So, I mean, anything can go, anything can happen, and I don't know. What about you, babe? What do you think about folklore and stuff like that? Like, how would you define folklore like this? Like, was that response kind of like genuine?
Yeah, I think it's genuine, but I do believe the fact that with folklore, like you said, like, it makes it more plausible. Like, it doesn't dismiss the fact that the folklore could happen, even if there's no records to prove it. You know, that's kind of like a way of saying, what's to say it didn't happen and someone did something with the records to, like, cover it up. You know, some kind of, like, conspiracy or whatever.
Well, you know how people are nowadays, too. You know, we find these old documents and we either throw them away, or give them to somebody and they lose them. It's like a... I can't even think of the word right now, but really it's just like, no matter what, we always end up losing or destroying the history. So we never really have that physical proof, unless it's very popular and very demanding. Mm-hmm. So if it's something small like an urban legend like this, then you're probably not going to find any type of proof at all. On that note, well, this has to be one folklore urban legend that I heard that I could never really debunk and say that, no, this can't be true. Because even with this response, like I mentioned and we mentioned, it just goes to show that anything can get lost or destroyed, and we do not know.
Yeah, and what's to say that it didn't happen? There's nothing to dispute it or to prove that it didn't.
So if the story of this ghostly lady that hitchhiked is true, I would like to know down the road, how is she connected to Whipple Hollow? If she even is. Well, guys, thank you for listening to the Urban Legend Talk with Tessa and I. I don't know, if you like what we're doing here, maybe we'll do some more. We'll look up, see what we can find, dig up. If we can't find any proof or get any answers back from you, then I guess it just goes to show that time has no records at all. And some things are just going to be left a mystery. And that's kind of the fun of it, I think, actually. Mm-hmm. It just goes to really show how folktales can just be created. And how it can last for generations, if not more. So, thank you guys so much for listening. I was Podolski.
And I'm Tessa Baker.
And make sure that you always check your candy this Halloween, follow the rules, and have a good spiritual time. Because you just never know what is actually watching you in the shadows.